Hello everyone and welcome to Squared Circle Select Start. Today we will be discussing which games we are looking forward to for the remainder of 2016 and which game we believe defines each generation of console gaming. Stay tuned. What's up, guys? It's the Nerdy One Prince Ali here, and I'm joined by my good friend Player Uno.
Hello!
And we are here to start our first ever podcast. For those of you who know us, we are independent wrestlers, but more than that, we are huge video gamers. We're giant nerds.
As nerdy as they come.
Yeah, I think we were just discussing it where, like, my first console was the ColecoVision Pong system, and I've been playing video games ever since then, so that's, that thing was 1979?
I can't even realize. I guess the first console I ever owned, I definitely played games, like, from the age 2, 3. We have a little age difference, not by much, though.
No.
And so I was playing Atari when I was a kid, but the first console I actually owned, I think I was 4 years old, and it was a present. It was the Nintendo. So obviously,
it's an amazing present.
Oh yeah, seriously, I got that, and then like it ruined my life forever. Here I am today.
So here we are with our podcast where we're just going to discuss gaming, everything relating to it. So what's new for us, what's new in the news, our likes, dislikes, anything like that. If you have any suggestions or comments, you can follow us up on Twitter, and we're going to post that at the end of the show. So let's get things underway with, what are you playing right now?
So currently I had a little bit of time off. I'm always playing something, so I'm always playing 2 or 3 games at once. This one I had no plan on playing on. It just, I wanted to play it, but it just didn't occur to me to put it in my budget. But then I got a key for free in my email, and I was like, oh, I've been waiting for so long for this game. Headlander. So it's from the people from Double Fine. They made Broken Age, Stacking. Actually, it's the person that made Stacking that led this project as well. And Grim Fandango,
right.
All those kinds.
Tim Schafer.
That's it, Tim Schafer. It's got this little witty, self-aware humor. And if you're not into that, maybe you won't be into Headlander. Because it's actually it's a comedic-based game. It's like Metroidvania in the style of, if you like Metroid games and the progress of a Metroid game, a little bit of combat, a little bit of puzzling, and then you can go back to certain areas to get more depending on what weapons you have. This does the same thing, except the presentation is that it's a 70s sci-fi base, so it's got like 70s music, it's got dancing, every individual character has a different dance of its own, and you're a floating head, so you're a floating human head that projects from one body to the other, and then so you would jump to a body, let's say a smaller size body, to get through a smaller size door,
right,
or jump into a stronger body to get through a stronger element, or the bodies, because they're clones, are all color coordinated, and that grants you access to different areas, so like a red body can get through a red door, a green body can't get through a red door.
Right.
So it's got all these cool little puzzles. I really liked it. I beat it in 2 sittings, which was 9 hours, which is a long sittings.
I love 2 sittings.
Yeah, so I think my first one was like almost 6 hours straight, and I just couldn't stop playing it.
That's crazy.
I'm like minutes away from a platinum on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I only need a couple more things. But I liked it immensely. I would highly suggest it. If ever you like the Double Fine games or you like Metroidvanias, definitely pick up Headlander.
I like how Tim Schafer always tries something unique.
Yeah, I know. I like Double Fine likes to widen their spectrum. So like they did an RTS with Brutal Legend.
Yeah, yeah.
This one's a Metroidvania. Obviously, they went back to adventure games as well. They kind of have their hands in all kinds of things, and that's what's so interesting. It all has its own Double Fine touch, but it's also in such various areas of gaming that you can always find something new to play with them.
Yeah, it's very cool.
What about you? What are you playing?
So I'm going to blow your mind here. I'm playing Gundam Breaker 3.
Okay, this is from Gundam Wing, right?
This is Gundam the Universe.
Okay,
So not just Gundam Wing. We're talking Universal Century, Cosmic Century, the whole shebang. I just blew your mind because you
I
watched
had
Gundam.
no idea. I thought Gundam Wing was just like, oh yeah, the robots. I used to love them when I was a kid.
That's just one show, and Gundam Wing's not even that good of a show. I probably offended some Gundam fans there, but I didn't like it. So this is an Asian import because it didn't get localized, but it does have English subtitles.
Which, thank God, because...
Yeah, well, I don't think I'd be able to play it without that. And it's basically, you are, if you're a fan of giant robots, like Pacific Rim and stuff like that, so you're in this giant robot and you're fighting other giant robots to try and be the best robot. So it's part Mosu, part hunting, part action. So the hunting part is you fight all these other robots, and then a boss will show up at the end of every stage, and you fight that boss. And the whole time you're fighting, you're collecting parts from everybody, and they have like a loot-based system, common, uncommon, rare, that kind of stuff.
Kind of like, have you played Destiny at all?
Yeah, so similar to Destiny, Diablo, all those other loot-based games. And you're trying to build the best robot from those parts, and then the parts that you put on dictate what kind of action moves you can do. Okay. So, like, if I equip a whip, it's going to fight differently from if I use a sword.
Oh, so there's like hand-to-hand as well as...
It's all hand-to-hand and shooting. So typical Gundam, you have hand-to-hand and you have a gun. Yeah. So it's both.
And so is it third person, like Armored Core? Or
basically, yeah, similar to that.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you definitely got me interested in this.
It's a lot of fun. I've sunk a lot of hours into it, and I'm not going to stop now.
And is it strictly single player, or is it also...
So, no, that's the cool part. You can co-op it. And then there's also a component where you can go online. So once I've built the robot I think is a great robot, I can go and do what's called bounties, where I can fight your robot that you've uploaded.
Oh, that's neat.
And I can try to beat that and get
so just
parts
like
off
test
of that.
Yourself against me. Okay.
Yeah.
And not really necessarily like I don't have to play, but you're just testing yourself against my model.
Right.
Such.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
So there's a whole online component to it as well. So there's like hundreds of hours to waste in this game. And I'm a huge Gundam fan, so I'm in heaven every time I play it.
I find that it's the crazy part of imports is like not only you're importing a game, but it's like it's not a small game like most American-based games. You won't sink in 12 hours and then you're done. These are like, these are 100-hour investments. That sounds really cool though.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun. I can't highly recommend it enough to anybody out there. If you love giant robots, go get this game. Get it now because it will probably become a rarity. Yeah, well, I mean, if it's not going to be localized, definitely. Yeah, like I had to get it off of eBay because the shop I go through it here in Toronto, they ran out. Oh, they only bring in however many pre-orders they get because I guess they don't want to be stuck with the inventory. And so when they ran out, they're like, yeah, we don't have any more. So I had to order it from Hong Kong. Well, that's great. Like, that's a scene I know nothing about, the import scene. Like, I know, obviously, when in the PS2 days, I think I imported a couple RPGs. Yeah. But other than that, like, you'd think that most games would come to both, but it's all about the localization, right? Because some things just don't make sense here, and so on and so forth. Which is kind of the difference in our gaming, too, because, like, that's a scene that's not... Like, you're not used to it, and that's a scene that I'm all about. Yeah, I'm like we're so different when it comes to our tastes in gaming. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm like... you have a huge Japanese influence. I'm like Balki Bartakamus, the weird cousin, and you're like Cousin Larry. Where it's like the indie games and the local games, and like... Meanwhile, I'm thinking, hey, have you heard this game that was made in Taiwan and it only released there? You gotta get this. And then, like, neither of us will play Call of Duty. Yeah. Well, we did that back in the day. Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2. People hated us because we just refused to talk to them. We didn't call strats or anything. We were just talking about our day and like, hey, what's new in gaming? While we're like, and it's like, I'm like, shut up. That was the last time I think I played Call of Duty. I haven't. I played Ghost on PS4. I did try Ghost. Yeah, and I hated it. I did not like it. I hated it. I paid for it, but I didn't like it at all. Yeah, that's terrible. Like the story of most of the early console games. I'm not a big console multiplayer shooter guy. Yeah, me neither. I just don't like... I like couch multiplayer, and I'll occasionally play a multiplayer online, but mostly if it's co-op based. Like, I don't like being competitive. Have you played any of Overwatch? No, I watched a lot of it.
Okay, so I've played a bit of it. I didn't buy it because I knew that if I'm going to get in the competitive scene, then I'll have no time to myself and all these other games I like to play. I also like shorter experiences in general. But I could have saw myself sink a ton of time in that because there's strategy to it, but it's also fun on its own. Whereas Call of Duty, anytime the new games come in, I always refuse to buy them. Although the next one looks pretty sweet, Infinity Ward.
I don't know.
Did you see the E3 demo?
I did.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
I was impressed because I completely forgot it was Call of Duty, and then when they said it was Call of Duty, it's like, shit, this looks good. I was kind of maybe I'll look it up. But usually when they come out, they're very multiplayer centric. Yeah, and people are so good that entry level just is awful. So you get in, you get destroyed, and then you never feel like you can catch up. Right. Same idea for MOBAs. That's the same reason I don't play MOBAs.
I'm intimidated by MOBAs.
I tried Dota because everyone's, you should play Dota. And what nobody told me is it would take me like 100 hours to get it. Yeah. I played like 3 hours, and all I did was people would shit on me while we were playing. I was like, what the hell are you doing? Don't you know how to do this? And
you're the guy in the corner just chucking grenades at yourself.
I don't understand. So I don't play those either.
Huh. All right, well, we're going to take a quick little break, and then when we get back, I guess we'll discuss, what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, let's do that.
Sounds good. All right, well, we're back, and as I said before, we're going to discuss what we're looking forward to, and not just in the software side, but even in the hardware side. Yeah, because there's a lot of announcements that came out. We've heard rumors of the Xbox Scorpio, the PS4 Neo, the Nintendo NX, whatever that is. There's a lot of VR helmets. There's a lot of VR that's going on. Are you going to get into VR?
So I really wanted to get a Vive or an Oculus, but it's really hard to. So I'm always the person that buys the console the second it comes out, right? And I'm always the guy who ends up spending a ton of money for no reason because none of the consoles come out and none of them have games that are worth playing at the very beginning because everyone's testing it out. Like PS4 came out, I bought Killzone, and I talked myself into thinking I liked it. And then when I finished it, I was like, I can't believe I sunk all this time in this game. It wasn't even fun.
Yeah, you told me that. You're like, I have Killzone. If you want to borrow it, you can keep it. I don't care.
That's it. And I did the same with Knack on the PS4. It came out and I was like, this is pretty, but it sucks. Like, so that's my thought process on the VR helmets is that I want them. I definitely want an Oculus. I definitely want a Vive. But nothing interests me yet. And I don't want to be the first person to buy one and pay like $800, $1,000 for the Vive because we're Canadian. Yeah. And then there's nothing worth playing until several years later. And by then, especially now, we get like consoles every 2 years almost, a new iteration and new PCs and stuff that like in 2 years I might have to buy a new one.
Yeah. I find that that's the case in gaming a lot where the early buyers, like the hardcore fans who will be in line to buy it day one, they kind of suffer in the long run because 2 years later when the library is better, the console's cheaper. And
it's like I fully admit I'm a sucker because in reality you buy it and then you're like, oh, I can't wait till in 2 years everyone has one and we can all discuss the same games.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm the guy who will be at the midnight line and be like, why am I here again?
It. Like the Wii U came out, zero interest, and I was like, oh, it comes out tomorrow. I'm totally going to buy one. I was like, why not?
And you go rush into the store and they've got like a pile of them.
Yeah, that's it. And they're like, what are you buying with it? I was like, I didn't even think about it. Oh, I'll buy that game. And it's never fun. So VR, I'm waiting for the
PS4?
No, so not the Neo. Why? Morpheus?
Yeah, it's the Morpheus.
Yeah, so PlayStation VR. They changed the name.
Yeah, they changed the name to the... Yeah, that's right.
So I was thinking of getting that, but I think I'm going to wait up. October just isn't a great month for me because there's so much coming out the next couple months. Yeah. And I've already invested like $300-$400 in the games that are coming out in the next 6 months.
What do you got?
Okay, so...
List them off.
So VR was going to be one of them. I've dusted that off, and I'm going to wait. The only thing that fully interests me in that is when Resident Evil 7 comes out in January. It's going to be exclusive in VR to PlayStation. So maybe January, we'll see. I might pick it up. And then there's Batman VR, which I was also interested in being a big Batman fan. But as far as games, so I've got a ton lined up. I've already paid for No Man's Sky. That comes out very soon. I will be playing that. Please do not tell me any spoilers, because I know you looked them up.
I did.
So it got leaked a couple of weeks ago. Somebody paid over $1,300 American on eBay to get a copy 2 weeks early, and then he uploaded a ton of footage. and I've been staying away from anything because I don't want to get overhyped.
Right.
But we all know that's the issue with this game, is that if we had just heard about it 2 weeks ago, no one would have overhyped it, and then people might like it, you know?
Yeah, it kind of came in overhyped 2 years
That's
ago
it.
when they announced it. It's like, do anything, go anywhere. Everybody was like, what the hell? This is made by 5 guys?
Yeah, E3 comes out and they're like, hey, there's going to be like a gazillion, that's not an accurate number, but there's going to be a gazillion planets, all of it brand new, and you can do anything in this universe. Everyone's like, holy shit, like, I want to play this now. None of us knew we were going to wait 2.5 years, though. So. Yeah. And that's the issue, is that for 2.5 years, you assume all of the things you think you can do in there, but what they really mean is, like, you could survive and fly up to the sky. Or
Right. Like, you can't just kidnap somebody and jettison them in outer space or whatever.
Exactly. And I'm trying to, like, limit my hype on it. I paid for it already. That's definitely getting bought, and I'm definitely going to play that.
Cool. What else?
So I have, so that's then. I was thinking of playing Deus Ex. I really like the last one. I think I'm going to wait on reviews for that one, so I haven't prepaid for that one. October starts getting a little crazy. So September, I think, I can't remember what's in September. Oh, Final Fantasy 15.
Yep.
So I think I'm all in on that one. Yeah. And this seems like the first Final Fantasy since. So I got really interested in 13, and then when I played it, I hated it.
It was terrible.
I hated it. The first 60... So, you play 60 hours of linear stuff, and then they're like, hey, here's your open world.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm super sour in the game. I just threw it away. I was like, nope, fuck you. I'm not
It's like a prison sentence.
I know. It was so awful. But this one, this is the first one that I'm thinking, like, I'm going to invest time into, because it looks good.
Yeah, it does.
Are you going to be playing Final Fantasy?
I'll be playing Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I know for sure, man. And that looks sweet. And then October, I've got... so there's Mafia 3 comes out.
Oh, yeah.
It looks really neat.
Yeah, they did a different twist on it this time.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
and
it's like New Orleans.
It's New Orleans. It's very... so they're not trying to compete with GTA by making it like... It's not the gameplay, I think, that's going to be the best part. I think it'll be really the story. It's like a story from the time about a black man at that time in Louisiana.
Right.
Or wherever New Orleans. And like, it looks really neat. So I'm interested in that. And then October, the other game I paid for. And I won't go too far into other things I'm going to play, because then we won't have anything to talk about next week.
Right, yeah.
But the last one for October is I already prepaid for The Last Guardian.
Oh, wow.
So I first time I saw it at E3, I was like, this game looks sweet. Because I played Shadow of the Colossus when I was young. I loved it. I can't replay it today. It's not really...
No, the graphics didn't really hold up.
And also the way it plays hasn't aged very well. But I told myself, hey, this looks sweet. I want to have an experience that, like, none other game is going to offer me. So hopefully that's going to be it. And kind of an emotional investment. Going in with, like, other than I know there's a big bird dog thing. Right. I really know nothing about the games. That's all I want to know.
Bird dog thing.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
I think his name is Trico.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the next one that's probably the one I'm gonna sink the most time into.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully without going into next year, you do have stuff pre-ordered for next year.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I've got so just one. I'll just say one, but Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh yeah.
That's the one. Of all the games I have pre-ordered, that's the one I'm most excited for. Oh,
that game looks amazing.
It looks so good. And, like, I just hope it's good. I don't want to think about it too much. Like, I've seen enough, and I'm like, that's it. You've got my money. Please don't ruin it.
It's that Guerrilla Games curse where it's like, it looks beautiful, but every Guerrilla Games game I played, it's like, oh, it's beautiful, but I don't care about your story.
And this one looks like an interesting world. Like I said, I played Killzone. Didn't really like it, but I played it. This one is like, they start something new. It's a world that looks interesting. It's got a female lead. It's got... Robot dinosaur seems to be coming in style. Like, there's a lot of those things now. And it just looked like it played really well. It's really beautiful. Kind of made it seem like a Zelda-ish world as well. It's like kind of open. You do little missions. And I'm all in for the mystery. So for now, I'm kind of on media blackout on it. I told myself, don't watch any more trailers, because my issue sometimes is I'll just watch too much. I'll ruin it for myself. So I'm just, I've already prepaid. I told myself February it'll come in if it doesn't get delayed. And let's hope it doesn't. And I just want to sink my teeth into it as soon as it comes in.
Cool.
What about you? What you
All right. So And again, I won't talk about next year because the first quarter of next year is ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, from November to March is insane next year.
Oh, yeah. I won't be seeing my family.
That's it. Me neither. My wife is going to be pretty pissed.
My kids are going to be like, where's Daddy? I'll come back 2 years later. I was playing video games. So let's start off next week. Yes. I have another import coming in called Super Robot Wars OG Moon Dwellers. So what's the longest name for a video game ever?
Japanese really like to have long names.
They throw it all in there. So Super Robot Wars is it's a strategy RPG where you move mechs. So instead of people, you have different mechs.
Okay.
And you move them around in a strategic RPG style. But when it comes to the combat starts to look like an anime.
Okay, so it's like it plays like an ogre battle, but
similar to kind of like ogre battle. But then when it's time, like, so if I click, okay, I'm going to attack.
Okay.
The animation kicks up and it looks like an anime.
Oh, okay, that's neat.
It's really cool. It's a fun RPG. They haven't done an English dub, or I think it's a sub in this case. They haven't done one for I can't even remember. Usually you had to use fan translations to play the game.
Yeah, that's how they're actually.
Yeah, exactly. But that's how they're actually they're releasing one for the first time. And what's cool about it is this is SRW, their own universe. Usually the problem with why they don't localize is because with SRW they bring in Macross, Gundam, all these other licensed robots, so you can build your ultimate robot team. But they're not allowed to bring it due to licensing anywhere else because they got to pay for all that licensing. It's just not worth it. Mm-hmm. But this game, OG Moon Dwellers, OG meaning like it's their original...
It's their own properties.
Okay. So they can release it.
They can do whatever
they want with it. So I'm really looking forward to it because I haven't played one in so long.
That sounds kind of neat.
I love strategy RPGs, and a strategy RPG with mechs that looks like an anime, that's like... I might marry this thing. I don't know.
If it's got mechs and anime, it's like right up your alley.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. At the end of the month, I'm playing God Eater 2 Rage Burst.
So I've been listening to someone, I guess, that is playing the first one in preparation for the second one.
Yeah, Resurrection.
So and it sounds insane.
Yeah,
I've never heard of this game before.
So have you ever played Monster Hunter?
I played very little bit. I think the Wii version, maybe? Is that
then you didn't play a good Monster
Hunter.
No, actually the Wii version's not too
bad. I didn't play it, and I heard like the Wii U one that just came out is like just a best of all the previous games.
Well, the Wii U version was 3 Ultimate.
Yeah.
Which was the best of 3.
Okay.
But then the 3DS got 4.
Okay, so
4
they
Ultimate,
have the most recent.
And then they got Generations and X.
Okay.
Like they've gotten better with every iteration. But with Monster Hunter, the thing that gets a lot of people is that there's a lot of management that you have to do with your fighting before you go out and fight these. So basically, if you've never played a hunting game, it's just bosses. Mm-hmm. You go out and fight giant monsters, you break off parts from them, you build new gear, new weapons to go fight bigger monsters.
Okay.
But in the process, you also have to manage like your inventory. You gotta, with Monster Hunter, you have to consume certain consumables before you go into a fight, so that way you can increase your stamina. Okay. And like, I'm fighting this.
So it's not as straightforward as just like, I'm going to go in and bash buttons.
Right.
Everything is very calculated.
You can't even bash buttons when it comes to the fighting.
Okay.
Like, because people call it sluggish, but it's not. It's strategic. You have to know when to strike. Okay. Otherwise, you have to block and guard because the monster will destroy you.
All right.
Meanwhile, God Eater is different. It's sort of Monster Hunter Light. You don't have to worry about your inventory as much. You really don't have to worry about the monster attacks. You can dodge and block. Yeah. You have one weapon that's called your God Arc, and so it's your melee, your gun, and your God Eater, basically, which devours parts of the monster to help build new gear. And in this one, I don't even think, if I remember correctly, you don't even have to upgrade your costume. That's just cosmetic. Whereas in Monster Hunter, you did have to upgrade your gear. So for this one, you're just upgrading the weapon. The weapon's more, it's more fluid combat. Mm-hmm. So if you're into Monster Hunter, but you find it too overwhelming, then this is kind of the game for you.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I downloaded it's PS4 and PS Vita.
Oh,
but this is the...
I need a Vita game right now.
They already released this on the Vita.
Oh, perfect.
This is the up-res for the PS4.
So that's what he was playing. So he was actually playing God Eater. All right, go ahead.
Or I might be wrong. Maybe this is the first time they've localized it for the Vita. But either way, yeah, you can get it on the Vita and on the PS4.
Okay.
I tried the Japanese demo.
Yeah.
If you have a Japanese PSN, definitely try it. It's a fun game. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
And if you pre-ordered it, you got God Eater Resurrection, the first game, for free.
Oh, so you get both.
So you get
So you can actually follow whatever story string is in there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, it's really cool. So that's just August.
Yeah.
Then there's Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, I mean, are you as invested? Are you going all the way? Like, I was thinking, like, do I want to watch the anime? Do I want to watch the movie?
I'm not that invested.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I know the anime started trickling out already. Yeah, episode per episode. It's only going to be 5. Now, I'm wondering, will I not understand anything in the game if I don't watch these things?
Right.
So, like, I want to get invested in this game. This is the first Final Fantasy since probably 9. 9 being the last one that I was fully in. 10, I kind of missed the boat on.
Yeah,
because
me
I didn't
too.
have a PS2 at the time. I had the N64. And then everything after was either online or 13. And 13 kind of like...
Yeah.
It's like inviting a friend over and then they spin your face. And you're like, what? I thought we were going to have a great time.
Yeah.
And like, no, screw you. So 13 really soured me on the game. So this one's the first one that I really want to get all in. And I hope that story-wise, I can understand everything without having to watch all that extra content.
I'm sure you'll be able to.
Yeah, it'd be stupid.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
Yeah.
On their part.
And this plays also, it's like action based rather than.
Yeah, this is the first time I think they've done that.
Yeah,
it's not turn based.
13 was turn based as well.
Yeah. So I'm looking really forward to that.
Yeah.
I don't know when the Attack on Titan game comes out.
I think that's this month.
Is it this
August?
month?
Yeah,
I thought it was September.
I think it's the end of the month. That looks
well, I'm
pretty
looking
neat.
forward to that game.
I've never watched the anime.
Don't.
Really?
I don't know. A lot of
Everyone
people
tells me
sold me
otherwise.
on it, and then I watched it, and it just I don't know.
Overhyped?
It took itself too seriously, I think.
Okay. It's like only a 12 episode season.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, watch the first 2. If you don't like them, don't watch the rest.
Okay.
I watch everything anime, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of weird like that.
I just held off on it just because everyone was like, "Oh, you should give it a shot." And then it was like in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. I tried to watch the first episode, and it just wasn't something I was feeling at that point. So I just never watched it.
Yeah, like the premise is really cool, but I don't know. Just the characters and the over dramatization of everything. I don't know. I couldn't get behind it.
It doesn't seem very colorful like other animes. Like that's why I like if I delve into an anime. I mean, colorful in the way that there'll be colorful characters, and it's kind of have that.
No, it's supposed to be very dark.
Okay, so that's why. Yeah, I couldn't really get into it right away, so I haven't given it a full shot. But the game looks neat.
Yeah, the game does look cool.
Yeah.
What else is coming out this year? Neo. I am looking forward to Neo. Have you heard of that?
That's
the one by Team Ninja.
And it's like wait, I thought yes, this is the Samurai Dark Souls.
Bingo. That's the best way to summarize it. Yeah, it's Samurai Dark Souls. But it's so much more than that. Like I tried the alpha, and the beta's coming out at the end of the month. If you have a PS4, download it.
I missed out on the alpha originally.
Get the beta. It's a fun game, and what I really liked that they did with the alpha was at the end of it they had a survey, and they really listened to the fans. Like when I saw the changes that they made to the game, I was like, oh my gosh, that's everything that I put into the survey. And they actually listened to us to make the changes for it. So it's kind of Dark Soulsy in that you have to be strategic on when you attack, but it's also very reminiscent of the original Ninja Gaiden in that there's just
the original 3 or we're talking the Xbox.
Oh, sorry, the Xbox
ultra black.
Yeah, black.
The ultra difficult one.
Yeah, like in the I didn't even know how to describe it. It's just it's fun.
It's like you there's no mercy in this game. Right?
No, so if you make a mistake, you get punished for it. But you can chain attacks if you understand the stance system. So you hold a sword from different stances, and you can utilize changing the stances for perfect attacks. And then enemies drop loot that's randomized. So it's kind of a loot-based game in that way, and you can pick that up and then re-equip your character, and then you can customize the stats for the equipment that you've picked up. So if you want to do a strength build, then you're hoping that the randomized drops will be for strength weapons,
like an axe or a hammer. Or
right.
Like
And I just the style that they're going for, especially after I don't know if you played Ninja Gaiden 3.
I haven't played. Black was the last one I played.
Yeah, like I was feeling really down on Teenage Us. Like I don't know if they're gonna make a good game again.
They haven't made a great one in quite some time. Actually.
This one is probably going to be. Like I'm over the moon for it.
Everything I heard about the alpha made me seem like something I want to play. Because I also got into Bloodborne, into Dark Souls in the last year and a half.
Right.
And now I'm all into those type of games. Because at first when I played them, did not get into it because I didn't understand that it's a game that if you don't understand its system, you can't play it.
Right.
You really you play parry system or you play a certain way or else you can't play the game. Right.
Which is the opposite for me because I fell in love with them the second I started playing.
I just didn't understand. Like I play a lot of hack and slashes. Right. Those games are not that.
No,
like you have to go in and it's got to be deliberate movement. You've got to make sure you time everything accurately. And Bloodborne was the first one where it took me 6 hours to get to that first little loop. And when I finally got that first boss, the wolf thing dead, I was like, I get this.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this game is so good. I want to play this game.
That's the funny thing with Souls is a lot of people are like, oh, they're difficult games. They're not difficult.
They're
just strategic.
You got to break through that. It's like a mindset. Like especially like I played Dark Souls, I beat it, and then I went to Bloodborne, sorry, and then I went to Dark Souls 3, and I was like, now I get it. I understand. It took me maybe 20 minutes to adjust because I was like, okay, it's less aggressive than Bloodborne, but it's very much more about the parry system, and you have to choose your battles and so on and so forth. So Neo looks great, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Neo looks like it's going to add to that kind of, I don't even know if it's a genre, but
it's definitely something that is influencing a lot of other games now. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to that. In terms of one game for next year, because I won't go into the entire list, Yakuza 0.
I thought that was out already.
No, it's coming out in January.
I saw the E3 thing. I haven't played a Yakuza game in quite some time. Actually, on PS Plus, if you have the PS3.
I don't have a PS3, but if you have a PS Plus, Yakuza 5?
Yeah, 5 is free right now. Yeah. So if you want to try that out, go out and do that. But that looks interesting. It looks fun.
Oh, I love Yakuza. To me, it's the better GTA.
Oh, yeah?
Like, I don't know how people can enjoy GTA.
I heard that the largest portion of the criticism against Yakuza is that it's been... So this is like the 6th game, or maybe possibly more. And it's following the same character.
So Yakuza 0 is kind of a reset. So it's taking the two of the major characters... And it's basically retelling the first story.
Oh, okay. So it's like not a reboot, but almost.
Almost. It's just sort of to get people caught up on what's going on in that universe.
Okay.
But they upgraded like everything. They make it like it's you get the choice of two of the main characters, and they each play differently. And it's so fun. Like, you run around town. So, like, in GTA, you run around town and there's that weird punch mechanic. Yeah. In this one, there's a full-blown fight mechanic.
Yeah, and, like, you can hit people with chairs and throw things at them. You can,
like, pile drive a guy, and as you do it, money flies out of him.
That's the stuff I was looking at, and I was like, I need to play this.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then you collect that money and you go to the casino with it. Like, that's the cool part, is even the side games. Like, with GTA, the side games never interested me.
I don't want yoga. I don't want tennis,
Like, you can go fly a kite. Well, you can go F yourself. I don't want to do that.
Through loops.
I don't want to do that. Yeah. Meanwhile, the side games for Yakuza they're fun. Like, you actually do want to go invest time in doing them, and you can get money for doing them, and it's like, it's such a fun world to be in, and that you can go do anything. And the story is good, so you actually want to play through the story. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope it sells well, because the only reason why I know they don't localize it a lot is because they don't sell well at all.
I think we're starting to get in an age now that we're more aware of everything. So if you're a gamer, for example, 2 years ago, I would have never known what most of the localized games are, what the Japanese-centric games are. But nowadays, it's like, I'll hear about Persona. Let's say Persona comes out, and I'm like, oh, I'm interested now. Yeah, I would have never heard about this before. Or Gravity Rush 2, same thing.
That's another one on my list.
I
forgot Gravity Rush 2.
December, I think, or January.
It's January, I think.
So I had no former love for this, because I was just like, I don't know what this game is. I don't care, because it didn't seem like anything I would like. But now that we have this worldwide connection between people everywhere. Yeah. You can start picking up on other people's likes and stuff. So, all the Japanese stuff, you still get to see it even if it's not localized for America. And anyways, it looks interesting. All those games look really interesting.
Yeah, I hope going to Gravity Rush 2, I really hope that sells well because I got the Gravity Rush remastered. I had to get it off of US Amazon because Canada didn't have it for some reason.
I know. I was looking for it at EB and they didn't have it.
No, it was only Amazon exclusive.
Yeah, that's weird.
So my brother-in-law got it for me. And it just blew me away. It was such a fun game. So you're like this superhero girl who controls gravity. The world that they built, it's so unique. Like your powers actually feel like they mean something in that world. Like it's not like
it's
they
not
just
like
built
a
a
gimmick.
city. Yeah, it's not just a gimmick like to give you superpowers. The world that they built around you, your powers actually feel useful, and you're not just overpowered in the game. They made a cool mascot in a way, and they like kind of like how Sackboy was a mascot. Cat can kind of be a mascot.
She's kind of become a PlayStation, like you identify that with PlayStation now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I really hope they market her and market this game because it's different.
It's
really not like unique. Infamous. A lot of people are like, oh, so this is like Infamous. It's like, no, it's not like Infamous. In Infamous, you have all these superpowers in a normal city.
Yeah, you're grounded you're grounded. Essentially, right. You're walking on ground and you don't have to think how to interact with the world.
Right, exactly. And in this game, they've expanded on the gravity
so there's
powers.
like 3 or 4 of them.
There's different types that you can utilize. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm actually that's one of the games because actually you sold me on the first one. I never got to play it, so I will have to borrow that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just watching it and you telling me about it, I was like, wow, this looks really great. So I'm pretty invested for the second one. I'll probably play that as well.
Oh, I can't wait. All right, so that's what we're looking forward to in gaming. We're going to take a quick little break, and when we come back, I guess we'll discuss
something.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. All right, we're back, and we've also figured out a topic we're going to discuss.
Yes.
We're going to focus on each generation of gaming. We're going to pick one game that defined that generation for us.
So we're talking, generational stuff like the Atari generation, and then Nintendo and Coleco and television.
Right. Yeah. So we won't go console specific. Mm-hmm. We'll pick the generation, and I'm going to pull up the Wikipedia list. So we can see what the generations are that are listed here.
Magic.
Yeah, there we go. And so first generation would be 1972 to 1976.
So that includes the Odyssey, Atari Pong, the PC-50X, which I have no idea what that is.
I have no idea.
The Telespiel, also no idea. Another Odyssey. That's mostly the Odyssey.
Yeah, and there it is. The Coleco Telstar Arcade. I had that.
That's the first one you owned.
That's the first one I owned. So I don't think we can really pick a game from here because it was really Pong.
That's what I was going to say.
These were all Pong machines.
I was going to say Pong seems to be the generalized favorite because that was the only game across all platforms.
Yeah. Pong, man. It's bigger than Street Fighter.
See, that's super easy.
Yeah.
At this rate, we're going to get through this like it's nothing.
Then we get into the second generation.
This is where it gets a little more complicated.
Yeah, this is where they have the Atari 2600, the RCA Studio 2.
The television.
The television. If I'm not mistaken, the Commodore 64 should be on here at this time. And the VIC-20. Did you ever play a VIC-20?
No, what's that?
So I had a VIC-20. The VIC-20 was a console where you put tape cassettes in. That's what played the game. And you had this really uncomfortable joystick to control the game. Is that the
one that you had to like put a skin on your TV
to
play it? So it showed you specific lights?
Yeah. And, I played Frogger on that.
Yeah. How was that?
It was terrible. Even as a kid, I was like, what is this?
I've never played... So I've definitely played a ton of Atari. And I've played the occasional Intellivision and ColecoVision game. But
see, I never played the Atari 5200 is on here.
Mm-hmm.
I never played that. I only played the 2600.
Same.
Yeah.
I've here's something that's weird. We're super into video games.
Yeah.
We have no idea what the difference is. Like, what was exclusive to 5600?
No, I don't know.
Like, if I'm going to make
I don't even remember a lot of 2600 games. Like Pitfall.
Pac-Man. Or like Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong wasn't on the 2600,
yeah,
was it?
I'm pretty sure you played Donkey Kong on the first Atari.
I don't remember that.
I know the original Super Mario's were the multiplayer game, or the god-awful E.T. game. I had a ton of licensed games back then, so I had like the Smurfs. complete trash.
Every game looked like trash.
Everything was
blinking lights.
Yeah. So I'm going to say my pick is Pac-Man. That seems to be the one that if you were to think nowadays, what game is still relevant from the Atari? That or maybe like Galaga.
Oh yeah, Galaga.
Like
I can agree with Galaga.
I'd say a shmup or probably Pac-Man from that generation. What would you think?
I'd say Galaga, like a shmup.
Yeah, because that really defined that generation in general. Because like there were Pac-Man clones, you don't remember any of them.
No,
but there's a ton of Galaga clones, and most of them are like Space Invaders.
Yeah,
that's really good. I'm blanking, but there's definitely
tons, and even like they're still being made today.
Yeah,
different types,
and it's weird because I'd love for that to take I don't know how, but I'd love a renaissance of that. Like we're getting all these new adventure games nowadays. I want the shmup to come back.
I think the shmup is still there. It's just not advertised as much.
That's it. I want like something like full fledged. Like, hey, wow, look.
You see the commercial Saturday morning.
Yeah, that's like Broken Age came back. Well, I mean, there was always adventure games. I'm using adventure games because that's one you can associate with the 90s. But like, there's no shmup game that I can think of off the top of my Resogun, sort of. Did you ever play that on PS3?
I love Resogun.
Love those games. So that's like maybe the last one, sort of shmup, that I could think of that I've been into. But there's not been a crazy renaissance of them like there was for the 3D platformer or for the 2D platformer and so on.
Right, like they're just sort of, if you're into shmups, you're knowing what's coming out.
That's it. You like the classics,
right?
And you know the occasional indie game,
right?
So we say second generation. We're taking the shmup.
We're taking the shmup.
All right, Galaga it is.
Third generation.
All right, this
tough. Is where it gets tough. We get the Atari 7800. We get the Sega Master System. We get the Famicom or the Nintendo Entertainment System.
So where did you...
there's Commodore 64. That was a lot later.
Yeah, 90s. Oh,
I had one of those.
So where do you lean on... where did you lean on as a kid? Were you a Nintendo or a Sega kid?
I was a Nintendo guy.
So was I. First console I owned.
I tried to shoot the dog in Duck Hunt.
Yep, all the time.
I spent way too much time trying to do that, and I was like, there's something wrong with this. You should be able to.
It sucks that, like, current day TVs, you can't really play Duck Hunt on.
No.
Because I'd love to go back to that feeling of, like, obviously there are games you can do that. Like, there's the Wii and so on.
Yeah.
That you can do something similar. But I love that.
It's not the same, though.
No, maybe it's a nostalgia thing, but I love that experience as a kid.
Well, that's just it. A lot of the NES, when I think back to it, because we had just talked about the NES Mini, and I was just thinking about, like, the NES library, and it's like, how rose-colored were my glasses? Because a lot of these games are not good.
You try to replay them. Well, it's also in the generation that, like, we get 13 games a week that come out. Yeah. Back then, you'd get the occasional game, and also they have to have you play those games. So they weren't great, and they weren't even easy. Right. But also, there's not that many games to compare it to. So, like, back in the day, I used to love, like, I earned money every week, and I saved it up, and I bought the Three Stooges game. It's not a good game. Right. You play it today, it is atrocious. But as a kid, I told myself it was a good game. Yeah. Because I was like, this is the only game I have for however long until the next one comes in.
I remember the first time my buddies came over and we played Blaze of Steel.
Oh, yes.
And my jaw dropped. I'm like, we're going to fight each other in this video game of hockey? It's so cool.
That might be my favorite hockey game.
I love it.
Ever.
It's the only game where I was able to score from behind the net.
Yep. Yeah, just the weird wheel.
That weird hook, yeah. I loved that game. So it's a terrible game, but I loved it.
I mean, you could still play it today and enjoy it, I find.
Yeah, I guess.
Ice hockey as well for the NES is very good.
Oh, yeah.
As far as hockey games go.
But don't play volleyball.
No. I did not like those.
Were you there at Jason's house when he had the volleyball tournament? We
played
that game.
No.
It was terrible. It's racist, first of all.
Is it?
Yeah, like...
It was like black-faced, right?
Like, yeah, and the names for the people are like, if they're from China, they've got very Chinese
like
names. And like, it was a terrible game.
So what would you say is this generation's game? Like, I've got one in mind, but I want you to suggest one first to see.
It's gotta be Mario Brothers.
Yeah, it's gotta be Mario 3.
It's gotta be.
I would say Mario 3. Mario 3 is probably, even currently, as far as games, one of the best games ever.
I'd agree with that. And the fact that, like, Mario 3 had a movie made for it.
That's it.
The Wizard.
Mm-hmm.
They had the Power Glove come out for it.
That's
type
it.
Of thing.
Everyone knew the secrets of the game, even though none of us know where we got it from. Like, was it from the Wizard? Or did it just become this thing where every kid just knew?
Well,
Nintendo
they did
power.
show some of it.
Yeah, of course. Well, the big reveal in that game is when he does the first flute trick.
Yeah.
And all of us
everybody's
knew it.
like, whoa!
Like, I remember the first time I played it. I knew that flute trick. So it's either I saw it in the Wizard or it was in Nintendo powered. But everyone would talk about that game when we were kids.
Yeah, it was just so, like, the hype built up around it. I just remember as a kid, I was like, oh my god, I gotta get this game. I gotta save up for it. I went and watched the movie when it came out. And so, that was the first time I think I was really hyped for a game as a kid.
Yeah,
because the other times I just sort of would go to the game store. It's like, oh, that game looks cool. I didn't even know it was coming out, but this one I knew beforehand.
That's it. It was the biggest property.
Yeah,
because as kids, like I liked Ninja Gaiden and stuff, but I never got excited because to me it wasn't a thing.
Right.
I mean, as a child, Super Mario was a thing. It was the icon of the Nintendo.
Yeah.
Super Mario 3 comes out. It's got all this weird publicity because games weren't really in movies at that point.
No.
Or if they were, they weren't. It
Good.
wasn't a good thing. So I would say that's easily one of the best games ever. Because you can play this game currently today, and it still feels great.
Yeah, I just watched the Games Done Quick on it.
Oh, it's insane.
And it was awesome.
Insane. Yeah.
It was fun to watch. And the thing that's cool about it is, if you look at later iterations of Mario, they kind of took what they did in Super Mario 3.
Super Mario World is straight up built off Super Mario 3.
Yeah.
Like the things that define Mario are all built on 3 nowadays. They're not built on what happens in the second one, that's for sure, because it wasn't a Mario game.
Right.
And the first one is, you have the core principles of it, but like half of the villains are from 3.
Right.
The overworld is from 3.
Right.
And that's a thing that's like very centric to Mario, and also was built upon by all other games after that. And
the costume design.
As well.
Like having a costume
That's
stick.
it.
Yeah.
And like it was definitely, and it also, even the art style, like the main Mario look comes from number 3 as well.
Yeah. Have you played Mario Maker?
Oh, I love it. The only thing that I didn't like about it is that after a while, I couldn't find any great courses built,
right.
or just trying to find a course that's worth playing.
Right.
But no, it's fantastic. I would love them to do that for Donkey Kong.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Or a Metroid Maker, something like that.
I just love a new Metroid.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about Metroid. It saddens me.
We'll get next week. We'll get to the next subject.
So, no, the reason why I asked about Mario Maker is because, like, you can make that Super Mario 3 graphics on it, and it looks good.
It looks great, and it plays the same way. And that game also emulates every version well. So, like, you play the first Mario world, and it feels and weighs like the first Mario. And then if you play as the third, or as World, or as current day Wii versions, they all feel
like that game,
like those versions. It's very that game's really good.
All right, let's move on. Let's see, 4th generation. Oh, this is the big one.
Okay, so this
me.
one's gonna be.
So we got the TurboGrafx 16, the Sega Genesis, the Neo Geo, the SNES, the CDI.
Yeah, this is probably the hardest one to pick, I think, because especially if you go through.
Not for me.
You have the one.
Well, out of those, like the console for sure. The SNES for me was the greatest of all time.
It's the greatest. I'm not saying console. I'm just saying the one game that I would like. I've got one game in mind. But the thing is, I can also have the argument for any other game and still say the same thing.
Yeah, like that library was so good. We might need to do a whole show on the SNES.
Yeah, of course. If we have to pick one,
who would you pick? Which one?
People are gonna be. Here's the thing. It's like it's downright the obvious answer, other than Super Mario World, but Link to the Past.
Oh, all right. I actually wasn't gonna go there.
See. And that's the thing. I'm sure whatever you say, I could still make the point for it. Because I could think like, Donkey Kong, I would make the point for that. Super Mario World, I would make the point for that. Super Metroid, you know what, I would make the point for that too.
Right.
There's so many great games from that era. Let me guess. Chrono Trigger?
Yeah.
Right off the bat. I knew it. It had to be one of the two, right?
Well, actually, I was thinking between that or Super Mario Kart. Because Super Mario Kart was the first couch co-op game where I just spent hundreds of hours.
And it was also a look into the future of what gaming would be. Like the 3D look and so on.
Oh, yeah. Well, like even my old roommate and I, we would stay up late playing Super Mario Kart. And this is up until like 2004. We would still be playing Super Mario Kart late into the night, just drinking beers, challenging each other to different battles and different... Like, it was such a cool idea that like, hey, let's just take a racer but make it fun for everyone.
Mm-hmm. And also approachable for anyone.
And approachable. It's
like
not
a kid
hard.
could jump into it and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it is nowadays you play it, and because of we're so accustomed to a way of playing games, I find it difficult. But as a kid, there was nothing else like it. So when you played it, it was like super obvious how you would play it.
Yeah.
Like I like that way more than like I was gonna say Rad Racer, if that's NES, but Radical Racing.
Radical Racing.
I'm trying to think of the other, like F-Zero, also fun.
F-Zero was difficult.
But I agree, Mario Kart is high up there for sure.
Yeah, it was fun. But Chrono Trigger, the reason why I picked that is because it just defined what an RPG should be.
Of all RPGs, it's the one I've played the most. Guarantee it.
Because you could finish it in, like, 25 hours?
Yeah, and there's different endings. And
there's different endings, different story.
Mm-hmm. And it plays also at that point, like, it's not purely turn-based. There's, like, a positional state, state as well. So
and there was no bloat.
Yeah,
they
that's
didn't
true.
bloat the game.
Yeah, because no, I can't think of a part I really hate.
I'm trying to think, was there any part where I was like, oh, I don't want to do this side quest or anything like that? There was nothing like that.
No, because I remember, like, even when you get to the point, so let's say you do the Robo World, so like the future, and then you get to, you finally get to go through time periods and kind of build your own way of how you're going to go through it.
Yeah.
And so if you didn't like a world, you just went to the other one and then tackled the other one after. And none of these worlds felt like they sucked. Like, none of them I was like, I can't wait to get through this part.
Yeah, and as you were building your own story, like I didn't even know about some of the endings at that time.
It took me forever. I actually, until like maybe 5 years ago, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought my ending was the one.
Yeah, like I played it back to back to back as a kid. So I found a couple of the endings. Mm-hmm. But then when I was in university, one of my buddies was like, oh yeah, and that ending. And he told me a completely different ending. I'm like, what? What did you do to get that ending?
If I remember, I think there's 16. I mean, don't quote me on that, but it's like around that.
We got to look that up. There's a lot. Sure. I can't remember.
But yeah, I would definitely make the point on Chrono Trigger, but I would also definitely make the point on Link to the Past.
I see. It's funny because after I played Chrono Trigger, I went and got Zelda because that really got me into RPGs.
Yeah.
So I played A Link to the Past to now.
It's just different.
Yeah.
Both games kind of were like built upon forever. Like a ton of RPGs were built off the principle. Like even current day RPGs, like I Am Setsuna just came out.
Yep.
And it's purely based on like Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, those kind of games.
Yeah.
Whereas dungeons and so on are built off what Zelda built. Yeah. Like obviously Zelda 2 was probably the first real inspiration, and like the Dragon Warriors are very similar like that too.
Yeah.
But when I think Super Nintendo, I think that.
Cool. Yeah, I can't argue that because I mean a lot of Zelda fans, they'll say the Link to the Past is the best one.
But I'll also say,
or Ocarina of Time, depending on.
I have my favorite, and it's not. We'll have that another time.
Oh yeah, we'll talk that later.
We'll do franchises some other time. But you know what? I'll stay stalemate because Chrono Trigger is one of the best games ever. I've definitely replayed that game more than probably any other game.
And that was the other reason why I really loved it. It stood the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
The saddest thing I ever did was get rid of my SNES library. And I was a kid when I did it. My SNES broke down, and I was like, oh, I don't need to play these games anymore. And I had Chrono Trigger, and I got rid of it.
But we didn't know years from now that these would be a fortune to try and get back.
Yeah.
You know, it's insane. Like Earthbound, I played as a kid. No idea how I got a copy. But
you
like
had
nowadays,
an actual physical copy of Earthbound?
Yeah, well, I think I borrowed it because I don't think I ever bought it. Because I know I had a Super Nintendo, but for a short period of time. Like, I got the Super Nintendo after Donkey Kong Country 2 came out.
Okay.
So, like, a ton of people already owned it at this point.
Yeah.
And I was one of the few that were still playing the Super Nintendo when Donkey Kong 3 came out. So I was late on the N64 as well. So I was, like, on the later generations. Right. So at this point, everyone had most of the games. Or were already invested if you were into the game. And my neighbor had Earthbound is what I think it was. But, like, if I had known, I would have bought one then. And then,
and hung on to it.
Yeah, that's it. Like, years from now, I'd be like, oh my god, this unsealed version of this game could be worth thousands.
You fool.
I know. Oh, well. So, yeah, Chrono Trigger or Link to the Past, I'd agree on both.
Cool.
Either.
5th generation, we get into the PlayStation, Atari Jaguar, Sega Saturn, 3DO, Nintendo 64.
The Amiga.
The Amiga. Did you ever play that?
I've never played the Amiga.
I never played the Amiga either.
So I've got 2 in mind. You got any that
this
summarize
is a tough one for me. Because at this point...
You're an RPG guy. But
at this point, I started going to PC gaming.
Oh, I didn't even think we could also do. Let's keep PC.
No, yeah, we'll keep
stuff,
PC out of it. But I mean, at this point, I really did start to focus. Like, I built my own PC back then.
So you were playing like probably strategy stuff.
So
like
I started
StarCraft.
playing Unreal.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Huh? Like.
Yeah, and then I started playing.
This
like,
generation's
Warcraft
just after Doom, though, right? Because Doom would be what? Is it 90?
Doom is
92?
92, 93. It's got it. Well, the Doom was on the SNES
as well, but that version's not as great.
No, it was terrible. I played it on PC.
I see. As a kid, I didn't play it on PC because I was a kid, and also Doom shouldn't have been played by kids to begin with. But I got it on Super Nintendo. And
Nerd. I played it as a kid. My dad's work buddy put it onto his work laptop and said, "Your kid will love this."
And I bet you did.
Oh, I did. That made me want to build a gaming PC.
So the first one was released at the end of 93.
Okay,
so this actually would fall in that
falls
generation.
into there. So it's hard for me to pick a game because I really moved away from console gaming for a little bit. But,
I've got two.
But I got, you know what? Because I got one. Okay.
So I've got two. I'll make my first one, which I think you won't have picked. My second one, there's a very good chance you have.
All right.
So my first one, I would say Super Mario 64.
Yeah, okay.
Because it revolutionized 3D gaming as a whole. Because that game built the structure on what all 3D games afterwards were built. You know, so they took what Super Mario World and Super Mario 3 did, overworlds, but they put it in a 3D way.
Right.
A way of interacting, and then the way you would interact with 3D games as well. Because, I mean, if you look at Super Mario 64, without Super Mario 64, there wouldn't be a Banjo-Kazooie. There wouldn't be a Crash Bandicoot. There wouldn't be a Spyro. There wouldn't be Ratchet and Clank. It really built the PS1 and PS2 generations and early PS3 generations of what the title games were going to be like. So, and also, first N64 game that came out for me, I don't know if it was a launch title. I think it was. And yes, it was a launch title because before it came out, I could test it out. I remember stretching the Mario face. And I remember playing the N64, playing Super Mario 64, and that's the point in my life where I realized gaming is going to be in my life forever. I played that game and I was like, holy crap, this is crazy.
I'm hooked for life.
Yeah, so that would be my first pick.
All right,
I've always claimed that it's also one of my favorite games ever. Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation 1.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going with that. I was going to say, you're not huge into 7, aren't you?
No, actually I am.
Yeah?
Yeah. 7, I liked 6. I really liked 6.
I didn't play, 7 was the first one I was fully invested in.
So yeah. I played 7 and I'm hyped for the remake that's coming out for it.
I have my
I don't really remember. I loved 7 back then, but if you were to ask me today, can you tell me the entire story? It's no, I really
I can give you a summarized version, probably.
Oh, no. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I can piece it together.
But it didn't strike a
stick
chord
with me.
Okay.
It didn't stick with me the way that 6 did.
I'm trying to figure out what yours is. Go and say it, and I've got one.
You won't get it. You won't get it.
Is it Mario RPG?
No.
Damn. All right, then I'm all out.
Yeah.
I'm all out.
GoldenEye.
Yep. I wouldn't have.
GoldenEye.
It's insane because that's the multiplayer game.
Yeah, that's why I picked it. We were playing that well into 2005. My roommates and I would just play GoldenEye.
And this generation's definitely the couch co-op generation.
Yeah.
Or just couch multiplayer. Because Super Nintendo had a couple of them, but not that many. You could play Donkey Kong and stuff like that, or Contra, but it never felt the way this did.
No.
4 players and such.
And it was it really brought the shooter to the console.
Yeah.
I think it was the first one that you could play
4
multiplayer 4-player shooting.
I mean, it's pretty early in the PlayStation's, yeah, I would think so.
Did SOCOM come out? I don't think it did.
I could not compare the years for that.
I don't think SOCOM came out till PS2.
I was thinking, does Duke Nukem 64 come out before GoldenEye?
Right, but Duke Nukem 64 was...
And it sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And I'm not going to count Quake or Doom, the ones that you could play on PC. I'm not counting those.
Even though they revolutionized.
But I mean, I'm talking strictly for the console. I think GoldenEye was the first, and it was just fun to make different game types. Okay, nobody can take Oddjob because he's hard to hit.
I'd love to go in and we'd be only handguns this time,
Yeah.
or only slaps, you know?
That was what we would
Yeah.
do. You crank up the health on one guy, and he's got to go around and slap chop
That's it.
everybody.
Yeah, and you can't take Jaws, can't take Odd Job.
Can't take Jaws. Well, see, that's what we would do for the slap game.
Yeah.
One person would be Jaws, and everybody else would try to kill him.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And what was the other one? Baron Samedi is the other
Baron.
tall character.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were our rules. And also, we never did explosives only because...
Oh, it sucked.
Oh, yeah.
It was so hard.
I did mines only, though. Because then you would just mine everywhere and just kind of wait.
Mine everywhere.
Just crawl against the walls and stuff.
See, yeah, so I was going to pick that, and if I couldn't pick that, Smash Brothers.
That's a great generation.
It was such a good generation.
I don't know if it's because I'm nostalgic to this one, but like, even the shitty games I like. But if you play them today, most of those games are not good. Because it's the graphics that don't age well. And the control.
Sure.
I'm not saying GoldenEye's still fun.
No, but you're right. The graphics, like graphically speaking, it wasn't
That's
anything
it.
to look at. The one thing that I really didn't like about the N64 was that everything had to be 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just dropped
2
2D
entirely.
completely. It was
That's
like we have to shove it down your throats.
Like Castlevania should not have been a 3D game.
No.
It did not work.
No, I don't know why, and I don't know why they felt the need to abandon the 2D. Like, I don't know if it was just a marketing strategy. They thought
Yeah, it might be like the
everything
evolution.
should be
Because the
3D.
PlayStation still had 2D.
Yeah.
I think it had Tumba and it had stuff like that.
And like, if you have these awesome graphics in this new upgraded system, why not build a 2D? I don't know why they didn't do it. So that was the one thing I didn't like about the N64 that kind of brought it down for me. Like, so you said Mario 64. I didn't like Mario 64.
Because you were more a multiplayer person anyways, weren't you?
Not that point.
Did you like Mario Kart 64?
Well, yeah, because I'm like, no, well, yeah, actually, Mario Kart 64
It's
is probably
great.
my favorite Mario Kart.
Yeah.
I'd say it's
Yeah,
the
I would
best
say.
one they've made.
Actually, I make mine the Double Dash for GameCube.
Oh, I didn't like Double Dash.
Really?
Oh, my goodness.
Loved it.
Get out of my house.
Oh, really?
No, Double Dash. Double Dash
to each
is
his
bad. I don't know. No, I wasn't a fan of Double Dash. Mario Kart 64 for me was awesome.
But you know what? I think Super Mario 64 is an obvious answer that anyone would say. But GoldenEye, now that I think of it, there's no other multiplayer game at that generation that I had as much fun with. Like, I played a ton of Smash Brothers, but even that doesn't compare to a good game of GoldenEye.
No. Like, even today, when they had the remake come out?
Come out on it was like it was just GoldenEye on the Wii.
It was just GoldenEye on the Wii. I looked forward to it.
Yeah, same.
I was like, oh my god. I think, like, Jason got it. I had to run over to his house and play it with him. I was like, oh my gosh, this game's amazing.
I own it, actually. I just never... Like, I had people over once, and that's it. I had to own it. Even though I have the N64. I have 4 N64s at home that I can play off of. And
you have 4 N64s?
I have a lot of consoles. You know how many...
Well, I know you have, like,
I have 6
every console, but why do you have 4
People just give them
N64s?
to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do people give you SNESs?
I've got 2. Do you need one?
I'd like to get an SNES.
Cool, I'll get you.
I'm trying to get back to that.
Alright, so that's 5th generation.
That's 5th
I'll say
generation.
GoldenEye. Let's accept
Oh, I won them over!
Yeah,
Boom!
I'll take that one.
6th generation, we get into the Dreamcast, PS2, GameCube, and the Xbox.
Alright, so...
This one's
a
doozy.
Did you... Okay, so when these came out, what did you own first?
I got into the PS2.
As well, I was a PS2 player. I was late.
It was the Japanese RPGs that got me back into the PS2.
I got the PS2, I don't remember why, to be honest. I think it just had a larger library of games. Xbox just seemed like a no, because it was like brand new and like no one knew what it was. I remember Dreamcast super being interested in, and by the time that I wanted to buy one, they're done.
Yeah.
And GameCube, I just missed that generation entirely. I played that later on.
The Dreamcast was really ahead of its time.
Yeah, it had internet access, had downloadable content, it had web browsing.
Yeah. It's like, it was like, basically, if it had come out when the Xbox 360 and the PS3 had come out, and maybe with a little bit better graphics, they would have still been in console gaming.
They showed up a little too early.
Yeah.
And also they came out, so theirs was released a year before PS2 and 2 years or 3 years, depending on what country, before like GameCube and Xbox. So they had no competition, and then when the competition came in, it's because it was brand new stuff and they were competing with each other. It kind of just got sunk in a hole. Also, you could burn the games, which that ruined it big time.
Well, but again, PS2 you could burn the games.
I don't... Yeah, but you couldn't do it straight up, burn the game, put it in, and it played.
Oh, no.
The first models of the Dreamcast, the model I own at home, You could just
straight up burn.
You just burn
Oh,
an ISO
I didn't know that.
and reads it.
Oh, well, then that would
it's
be a
insane.
huge,
Yeah.
huge issue.
But I love
that. Seems like an oversight, like a pretty big oversight.
Like they come out with it and like, we're doing great, and then the first person's like, oh, by the way, you can copy any game. We're screwed instantly.
Yeah, like they're just sitting in a boardroom meeting. They're like, yeah, and you should have seen that. You're fired.
Get the hell out. So I don't. This is the first year that I don't even have a front runner. I don't think.
Well, I'm gonna look up the PS2 library because it was a big one. I want to say Vice City. I kind of want to say Vice City.
I was gonna say GTA. Well, yeah. So I like Vice City more than 3, but 3 really, like, when it came out was like, holy shit! Look at what games can do. I can kill a prostitute. I can steal a car.
Like, whoa!
I can steal a car.
So like,
that's a
and
hard...
it was like the first time you could do it in the 3D, like in 3D, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's the first open world game that I can think of. Like a game that you got in, and it wasn't just strictly like,
no,
hey,
you
go
could
to
do
here
whatever
to here.
you want.
Just do whatever the heck you want. Like, obviously, like Mario has a bit of that, like choose your path,
Yeah.
but ultimately you're in one castle. You know, It's not like, oh, by the way, you can also ride dolphins and stuff like that. Whereas like GTA is like, drive your car, do whatever you want, commit any crime. Here are these little side stories. Oh, want to take a boat? You can do that too.
Right.
You can't swim.
Right.
You can do everything else.
Water kills you in so many games.
But it's hard, man. That generation's so good.
It's such a good generation.
And also PS2, I think, is the console that has the most games ever released on it.
Yeah.
And has the longest generation.
What was the best-selling console?
Yeah,
right? Ever.
Yeah, and I think it's Wii is the one after.
Yeah. Like, Bully came out for it.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy went all the way up to 12 on it?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
I did.
It was all the way up to 12.
Didn't like 12.
Oh, right, because 13 was the first one on the new console.
That's it.
That's Shadow of the Colossus,
As
Ico.
Well. Ico. I've never played Ico either.
Ico's good.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Meant to. Beyond Good and Evil comes out and then.
Evil.
And then if you look at the other side of the story, like Xbox, so you have the Halo series, you have Gears of War.
Yeah. No, Gears of War didn't come out on Xbox.
First one's on 360. You're right. Yeah, it's actually Xbox. Xbox is a weird thing. It doesn't have that many properties that's exclusive to its own.
No.
That kind of stood the hands of time.
Yeah.
So like Halo is definitely the front runner as far as theirs.
Well, they had some really cool games that just nobody was playing, like Phantom Dust, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a Halo console.
Yeah, that's it. Like if you're gonna symbolize that console, Halo, I guess 2? Would you say because of the multiplayer?
Yeah.
Like I played more of the first one.
I guess. But which game from this generation would you pick? I guess, are we going with GTA?
That's definitely the one that I can remember.
This is a hard one to pick.
That's it, because I have favorites on each. Like I love Shenmue from Dreamcast. Like I found
that's right.
That's definitely revolutionary. It's as far as Dreamcast, that's the game that you're like, hey, if you can go back in time and play one game, play
Shenmue. Yeah.
If you play it currently, the loading times alone would kill you. But,
right.
But
if you could go back to play it.
And then PlayStation 2, that's the one that I have a hard time with. There's so many great games.
So many good games for it. Like, I can't just pick one. But we got to. That was the whole point.
Ah, man, okay.
There's Okami.
I'd definitely say, like...
Oh, man.
Like, I have my favorites. Like, I love Def Jam. And
that
kind of stuff. And I definitely love those games. But as far as important games... Oh, I've got Gears of War, Resident Evil, Silent Hill. But if I were...
Coder.
Which
Knights of the Old Republic.
Yes,
that came out on the Xbox.
Yeah, that was huge.
That game was amazing.
I would say that GTA is definitely a front runner.
See, I have to
it's
pick
hard
GTA.
to say because
GTA kind of at that time it kind of defined what open world games were going to be.
Yeah, that's it. Like GTA 3 came out of nowhere, and everyone was like, "This is insane." Vice City comes out, and it's like, "Wow, it's the same game, better, but a timepiece." Like, this is amazing. Yeah. Like, I really love Vice City. Like,
and
if
it
they
brought
remade
an awesome soundtrack.
Oh yeah, seriously. And that's the first time that I felt like Vice City was the first game where it felt like other medias weren't even close to a game. Like, it came out, it had a story that was very movie-like. It had Ray, what's his name? Actor from Goodfellas, Ray Liotta.
Yep.
Had Ray Liotta as an actor in it. It had all this crazy licensed music.
Yep.
It had a distinguished style. Everyone was talking about it. I got
to go with Vice City.
I'm going to say Vice City as well. Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Yeah, there you go.
That's that generation.
Seventh.
Seventh is the 360, PS3, and the Wii.
I want to say first, We gotta give it to the Wii because that really, like, that's the console that when it came out, like, even my grandma knew what a Wii was.
Yeah, my in-laws have a Wii.
Yeah, like, my mom stopped referring to every console as Nintendo because, like, you'd play PlayStation and she's like, you're still playing your Nintendo.
Yeah.
And the Wii came out and she knew what it was. Because it was, like, the party games you could play with anyone. Like, my dad, I got a Wii, I brought it to his place and he's like, I don't play video games. I'm like, you'll play bowling, I bet, though. And he loved it.
Yeah.
And so I think I would like to give a nod to the Wii as being like the first console to really bridge the crazy gap between normal people and us crazy gamers. But as far as one game,
I got one. Oh, I totally got one.
So wait, is 360?
My game's on the Ouya. No, I'm kidding. No.
Towerfall? So I've got one on PS3 that I think is the best one.
Go for it.
Last of Us.
No.
But the only issue is that I feel it's like a late game.
Yeah. Well, no.
And also Uncharted are great too, but...
All right, you picked yours.
I'm going to say Last of Us is my favorite game from that generation, but I don't think it's the game for that generation. What do you say?
Dark Souls.
I didn't get into it at that point.
I think...
But if you look back, that's the game that's influenced the most things nowadays.
Right. And it really brought that whole, we're not going to hold your hand anymore, back to gaming. Because at that time, a lot of console games, it's like, here's your 3-hour tutorial.
Especially in 64. It's like...
Yeah.
That generation was like, hey, we don't make hard games anymore because we haven't figured out how to make 3D yet.
Right. And so it was a lot of hand-holding. And there was a trend where a lot of games would hold your hand for a long time. And I'm not saying that every game did it.
Yeah.
But Dark Souls was, I think, the first one that successfully said, we're not holding your hands. You figure everything out. We're not even going to tell you a story.
No, and that I kind of like that.
The story.
I really liked it. It's like when I played Bloodborne and Dark Souls 2 are the first ones I got into. And I was like, holy crap, this doesn't, like, this game doesn't invite you. It's like, if you want this game, you gotta search it out for yourself. And I really respect it.
Yeah, and what I love about it is it feels unwelcoming because the world should be unwelcoming.
Oh yeah, that's it. Like
why would they tell you how to do things?
And like that game, like especially like if you were to start the game in the I will say in Dark Souls 1, I don't like the tutorial. Like you just read these things off the ground. But at the same time, it's not like a character that comes up to you and says, press A to attack.
Yeah, while I'm dying, here's what you need to know.
Yeah, I hope you'll survive. Yeah. And then they leave, you know? I can accept the thing, but I couldn't vote. I couldn't vote for it mainly because I didn't get into it at that time. And I also think if you look back on the console, especially, there's so many great games to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
But like if you were to look back on the console, no one would be like, that's the one. Like, it's definitely the game that's influenced probably what games are going to be like for a long time.
Right. Well, a lot of last gen, the thing for me was, and maybe it's the nostalgia, like I'm not old enough, but I didn't really appreciate last gen. Like, there's no part of me that felt like I needed to hang on to my PS3 or my Xbox 360 or hang on to that.
I think we were also, that generation was like that middle period where digital also started coming around. And you're like, oh, if I don't buy it, I'll get it later. Some other time. Yeah, that's it. Like, there's no sense of urgency to get games. Now, that doesn't apply to me. I still will be a day one kind of guy.
Right.
Yeah, man. I can accept Dark Souls. The thing is, like, I can't think of one that stands over tall, guaranteed. Like, even...
Did you ever play The Last of Us multiplayer?
No. Is it fun?
I loved it.
Is it similar
That's where I sunk most of
Uncharted?
my time into.
Really?
No, it is not like Uncharted. It's like Gears of War.
I've changed my answer.
It's like Gears of War... But not really, because you have to craft a lot of things. It's very strategic. So I liked it a lot. The one thing that I hated, and nobody criticized Naughty Dog on doing it, was there's a lot of DLC that actually affected the multiplayer.
Yeah, like
it wasn't just cosmetics.
I think it was like Wild West though back then. Like people hadn't figured out that it was kind of unfair to do that stuff yet.
Yeah, I think they were still trying to figure out.
Like this generation is like if someone does that, and it's like
they get roasted.
Yeah, it's like what you can pay to be better at the game. Yeah. We're not playing this game.
Well, it wasn't like necessarily to be better at the game, but it was just like a lot of cool,
getting
cool guns, cool perks.
Yeah, it improves
were hidden behind. Yeah, and so if you're still trying to figure the game out, like a better gun that's easier to learn from was hidden behind DLC, which is kind of, I don't know, I think it's a shitty thing to do.
I'm going to make also, so I know you won't agree. You'll completely disagree, actually. We've had this discussion before.
Okay.
But I'd also say Red Dead Redemption.
No, get out of here.
See?
I hated RDR.
I know, you hated it.
I'm such an anti-Rockstar person, and I feel bad because they make these really cool games, but like there was that one moment where John Marston opens. I'm not going to ruin the story, but the ending.
Yeah,
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
that was really moving.
I like that it ended on a way that you're like, wow, this would have been a Western.
Yeah,
this is it.
Yeah, like the story and the premise was really cool, but it just felt like a GTA skin. Like there's something about their gameplay.
It's very them.
Yeah,
there's nothing new. Like even if you play GTA 5 currently, it still feels like that game.
Right, and I feel like they haven't actually tried to improve the controls. Like they think, oh, everything's fine. Yeah. I don't like their controls. Like
it's starting to get old.
So clunky about their characters that I just don't like. I'd rather like if they made a movie RDR, I'd watch it. Yeah, I didn't want to play the game.
I'm sure, like when they announce the second one, it'll be great. But you know what? Here's the thing. I know you don't like that game, so I'll admit. Let's just agree that Dark Souls and Last of Us are on even keel.
Okay.
All right, perfect.
We'll go there.
All right, cool.
All right. And then we're up to this generation. So
if you have to pick
PS4,
one favorite.
Xbox One.
If you had to pick one favorite as of yet. So, like, we're currently 2016. This is before Last Guardian, before No Man's Sky, before all these games.
Yeah, well, we can't pick one based off of the hype.
If you were going to pick one or two games currently. So I've got one that I think stands head and shoulders. Actually, I have two, and I can't tell you which one I prefer most. One you'll be really happy about, so Bloodborne.
You're going to say Bloodborne? Yeah, I was going to say Bloodborne.
I'm going to say, as far as exclusive to PlayStation, that one or my other suggestion are the top games on PlayStation. And I think also the top games of this generation. Also, PlayStation 4 is dominating this generation.
Oh my god.
All in all, like
ridiculous
Xbox
numbers.
Exclusives, not even close, I find.
I remember when, just before this gen came out, or I guess the Wii U was already out, people were like, oh, console gaming's on the decline.
It's going to die.
Because the Wii U's doing so bad.
No, everyone has.
But it's like, the Wii U was not marketed well. No. And it's not that great of a console when you think of what you're paying for.
They also lost all support for it, so therefore no one will buy it.
So people were using that, and they're like, oh yeah, console gaming's dead. And then the PS4 just comes out, and the numbers it's pulling off are amazing. Even the Xbox One's doing really good numbers. I mean,
it's doing better than 360.
Well. Yeah, it's just not doing well compared to the PS4.
It's doing better than the 360 was doing.
Yeah, but like the PS4 is just flying.
Yeah, as far as games, I think they're like, obviously there's a ton of great games nowadays.
Yep, I agree.
As far as, let's say, console only.
Right.
Because there are games that I definitely would consider better, but Bloodborne and Uncharted 4.
I haven't played Uncharted 4.
You have to. It's an event. You know what I mean? Like, maybe the gameplay itself is not revolutionary. In the same way, like, if you play a Rockstar game nowadays, you're paying for presentation.
Right.
The gameplay itself is the same as if you had played Vice City, like with some little tweaks. So this one's very similar to Uncharted 2 and 3. But it's the first game as a whole that feels like, holy crap, this is next gen. Like, this is it. There are 0 loading times. There's no cutscenes. There are cutscenes, but it just seamlessly goes into one into the other. It's big budget story, big budget set pieces, gorgeous. But on a gameplay part, I would highly prefer Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Because Bloodborne, on the other hand, I've never felt so satisfied from playing a game.
Yeah,
like that satisfaction of finally beating something. You're like, wow.
Yeah,
I worked so hard.
I destroyed this thing. Yeah, I agree. Bloodborne is just, it's such a cool game. And it's different from Dark Souls. Mm-hmm. Like, people are always, always put it in with Dark Souls, and I guess, that
but it is a drastic difference.
But there is a difference to it, and the setting is cool.
It
brought in a lot of people who hated Dark Souls.
That's it. See, like, I couldn't get into Dark Souls, I played a bit of it, and I couldn't get through that first barrier.
Right.
Like, I liked the setting, I liked the idea of all these bosses, but I'd only seen one, because I couldn't even get through the first thing, because I couldn't get through that barrier. Whereas Bloodborne came out, and I was like, the setting is amazing. Like, I love Eldritch horror, and I love that, that Victorian look and so on. And like, dark metal almost, essentially. Right. And then I had played through, and when I finally got through that phase where I understood, I was like, wow, this is going to change me playing games for a while. Because, like, then I played all the Dark Souls games. And then I tried Ninja Gaiden Black again. And I was like, I'm doing better at this, too.
See, it's funny, though, because a lot of people say, oh, yeah, like, I couldn't get Dark Souls. It was too hard. Yeah. Bloodborne is great. but I found Bloodborne's first hour to be way harder.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that
Bloodborne
first little stretch is insane.
Yeah, so like Bloodborne in total, I found was easier than Dark Souls. But that first hour was just so unforgiving. I didn't understand. People would say to me, "Oh, I can get into Bloodborne. I couldn't get into Dark Souls."
It's like
what?
What
confused you in Dark Souls?
In Bloodborne, one of the hardest bosses is like the second one, Gaston.
Yeah.
Like you go against him. He's the first human you fight, and you're like, "Oh my god, I can't beat this guy. He's as fast as I am."
I kept getting stuck in the tombstones and stuff.
Yeah,
it was so hard to fight him. And then
after that, it's a breeze almost.
Rom can just eat the fattest part of my ass.
I remember I kept sending you texts because I didn't buy it when it came out.
Yeah,
I played it maybe 6 months later, and I knew you were totally into these games.
Yeah,
and I kept sending you messages. I was like,
I can't beat
Rom.
this guy.
And like 8 hours later, I hate Rom.
Yeah,
I hope Rom dies.
But the funny part is, after you beat him, if you play the Chalice dungeons, it's like, hey, guess what? He comes back in an even harder fight.
Yeah, that's it. But at this point, you've kind of figured out.
Yeah.
You know? He's the first bot that comes out that it kind of tackles differently, I find.
Yeah, you have to change your strategy.
Yeah, it's not, you can't only just concentrate on him, you have to kind of micromanage the spiders. And on top of that, you have to always be alert. And anyways, I beat him. Took me forever. But I would say Bloodborne or Uncharted for this generation. It'll definitely change, though. There are so many great games coming.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
It's insane.
It's just when you, like, I'm actually excited about E3. I was excited about this year's
every
E3.
year.
That hasn't happened to me for a while.
But since PS4 came out, every year feels like a spectacle. Like, it feels like this year we're going to hear about stuff and it's going to blow our mind, and in 2 years we're going to buy it, you know, because it takes so long.
What did you think about last year when they had the Shenmue announcement? They had
it was so weird.
The Final Fantasy VII announcement.
So PlayStation from last year felt like it was like, oh man, I don't know what we should do, and it was like, let's bust out all the big guns. Yeah, like, let's tell them Final Fantasy's coming back. That alone would have won them the thing. Yeah, and they're like, you know what? Let's get Kickstarter for Shenmue, because there was no reason for him to be there.
No, not at all.
And then like, let's just announce a ton of games. And then this year, same thing. It's like, what do we do? I'll just show games. Don't even talk.
Yeah,
do an hour straight of just straight gameplay.
It's like they figured out the formula to get people to be really excited about.
That's it.
Their conference. Because like if you think about it, last year again, Shenmue was kickstarted. Like it wasn't exclusive to PS4. It's not even close to being done.
I paid for it.
In Final Fantasy VII Remake, they didn't say it was PS4 specific. I don't think.
I think it's to all as well.
But they just had them on the PS4 stage.
Now
on
people
Sony
stage. They think it's a Sony product.
So everybody's like, oh my god, this is coming to PlayStation. Yeah. It's genius on their part. But if you look at it, they didn't really announce anything that was Sony specific.
It's insane.
Like that blew anybody away at that conference.
I think also that's a big portion of why Sony has been winning, is they gave, like, they haven't had that many strong titles to themselves until this year.
Yeah, they linked their brand to like Destiny, to
Battlefront,
Battlefield. Battlefront.
Yeah, Star Wars.
Yeah.
So like they really
the big IPs.
That's it. They're like, oh yeah, everyone else also has these. It's just they made everyone believe that it's kind of like what Xbox used to do with Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Now it's switched over. So like everyone associates it with Sony.
I have the Glacier White Destiny PS4.
That's it, yeah.
Because I just wanted it. It looked so cool. I didn't even care about Destiny.
I bought Destiny. I played it a bit. It was okay. Yeah. I never got into it. And, like, it's just not my type of thing. But for the longest time, even though I'm super into games and I super follow the news, I didn't know it was on Xbox.
Yeah.
It seems like a PlayStation property.
I knew some people who were like really angry at EA because they thought Battlefront was PS4 exclusive.
Yeah, that's it. It's just because at E3 and everything else, they was just exclusive there. To them.
Yeah, it's interesting because last gen it was so competitive in terms of like 360 versus the PS3 that people forgot Xbox launched a year earlier. It was only dominant in like North America and Europe.
Yeah, they don't have a huge European market. Which is
it's weird. The UK. They're big in the UK, but I think outside of the UK, that's it. So it's like UK and North America. Mm-hmm.
And they have almost nothing in Japan.
Oh, God, no.
Like, that's a strictly Sony country.
Which is funny, because a lot of JRPGs that I had on my 360 were amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, the best Tales game that I played was Tales of Vesperia, and that was on the 360.
That's crazy.
Yet it didn't sell well.
Actually, 360 had a lot more RPGs than PS3 did.
Yeah.
It was
just not a lot of I don't know. I guess they just didn't market it well.
Also, with that generation, I would say the 360 was probably more dominant than the PlayStation was.
Right.
Even though
you mean RPGs here in North America?
Yeah. Japanese, there was definitely more on PlayStation. Yeah. But as far as what we got, it was mostly Xbox stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially really good ones, like Blue Dragon was on the 360, and PS3 didn't really have I know a lot of people told me to play Ni no Kuni, and I hated it.
I never played it. It looks pretty, but I just couldn't. I couldn't toss myself into a 100-hour RPG at the time.
Yeah,
same reason I haven't played Witcher.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See, but that's kind of what last gen brought us. Hey, look at these RPGs. You can spend 500 hours playing them. It's how much of it is bloat?
It's like Metal Gear. I played 20 hours and I was I can't invest another 80 hours.
Metal Gear 5?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
But I was just I just can't put that's why I like the more condensed thing. The game I think I spent the most time in the last year is Bloodborne. Just trying to beat it.
So Metal Gear 5, did you finish it?
No.
Did you finish the first act?
I don't know where first act ends.
When you moved to Africa. You changed countries.
Yes. That's as far as I got.
Don't play any further.
Oh, okay, I stopped there.
It's terrible. It's kind of they put everything into
the first
part and the gameplay and all that you can do, and it's all this cool stuff. And then it's Africa's just kind of a reskin of the first part, and the story just goes down.
Well, when you play a game and at a certain point you're okay, this is it. This is the game. Do I want more of this? I know I like it, but do I need 80 more hours of the same thing? I didn't want to do that. Yeah, it's kind of like at GTA. Sometimes you hit a point where you're okay, I've done this.
The last GTA 5. Yeah. I know you sold me on it. You were it's amazing.
I liked it a lot. Wait, did you get the PlayStation 4 version with the first person?
With the first person, yeah. And I hated it. I just rushed through the story just to say I beat it because I was I invested so much into the story. Yeah. And I'm I just got to finish this now.
I think you're just done with those type of games, to be honest.
Well, no, because I'm looking forward to Yakuza Zero coming out.
That's true.
But it has those kinds of games. But yeah,
it's not American based though. That style.
It's that American style. I don't know. I like Saints Row. I actually like Saints Row better than GTA.
Those games are fun too.
And I think it's because they're just over the top, wacky.
It has its own thing.
Yeah. It's their own thing.
So if you disagree with any of these, contact us at our exclusive Twitters. And by exclusive, I mean each individual one.
Yes.
Guaranteed, no one is going to agree with it. I mean, they might be oh yeah, I agree with Chrono Trigger.
No, that's a subject that's very divisive. What your favorite
We're going to get
hate
per generation on this.
I know. Somebody's gonna try to beat me up for it.
So that's it for our episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did not enjoy it, or if you really, really, really feel like you should tell us that you enjoyed it, you can find us on Twitter. We're all individually based on our Twitters. We don't have a co-op one yet.
Nope.
But I am at Evil Uno.
And I'm at Nerdy Royalty.
All one word?
All one word.
Also the same for mine. So let us know if you agree with any of our predictions. And by predictions, I mean what we thought our games were for each generation.
Yeah, and also if you have any suggestions or comments for future episodes, hit us up on Twitter.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for watching.
Have a good one.